everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cruising Israel. I'm your host, Natalie.
And I'm Max.
Max, I figured we'd start with something super fun this morning.
Oh, what
I
you
know
got?
you would enjoy it. Have you ever tried virtual reality here in Israel?
No, I haven't. Why? There's something cool going on?
There's something really cool in the center of Tel Aviv. We pass by it almost every day, an arcade with lots of virtual reality games.
Sounds like something worth checking out. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Virtual reality is the next revolution in technology, with the power to take you places you never dreamed you'd see. It allows you to not only fully immerse yourself into the sights and sounds of a digital world, but to interact with it as well. From gaming to traveling and even real estate, the immense capabilities of virtual reality will change the way we look at digital media. For a glimpse of what the VR world has to offer, we decided to come to Virus Games in the heart of Tel Aviv. Oh, I see that little guy. You really do feel like a ninja. I bet it looks really weird from the outside.
Yep, you got that right.
Our mission is to bring virtual reality to Israel, and we wanted to provide this gaming experience in the arcade for all types of people, including families, couples, people and groups of friends who just want to come and enjoy. As you're playing, you can reach out and grab objects in virtual reality, using the dual controllers to interact with the digital world around you.
Okay, so we are using the HTC Vive headset. Basically how it works, we have the headset, the controllers, which use sensors. You see those little spots? Those are the sensors. The light towers, the base station, sends beams of laser beams. These sensors picking up the beam from the base stations, okay? Everything happened in 2 milliseconds. So we can really feel like it's reality, like it's happening now in our eyes. So for the first experience, we're gonna walk on this plank, which is only a few centimeters above the ground, but in the virtual world, it's going to be 200 meters above the ground. Let's see how you handle it.
Meters. The elevator leads you to the very top of a towering skyscraper, and as the doors open, my heart was beginning to race. Oh my god! There's a spider coming towards me. I'm not ready. Let's step on it. Ah! Oh my god! Oh god. If he comes towards me, guy, no.
No, you can't do anything. It's only virtual.
Oh.
It's completely virtual. You can't touch it.
Okay. Ah! There's a spider coming towards me.
So what?
So I tried convincing myself as much as I could that it's fake, it's not real, but your mind just plays tricks on you. You're entering another world.
They are now using this technology to overcome phobia, all kinds of phobias. If it's spider phobia, as we saw, or needles, and even combat soldiers that have any trauma from the battle.
There was a work outing today. We took the whole team here. We had a great time. I'd highly recommend it.
Virus Games features 8 stations and hosts events for up to 20 guests at a time.
I think the reason why people coming back to us again and again is because they're able to play with their friends at our multiplayer games.
Virus Games also goes to any outdoor events and instantaneously dazzles guests by inserting them into a different world.
The games are suitable for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're into technology or not.
A lot of sweat, a lot of action.
That was really cool. It's really neat how your perception really gets adjusted to wearing the glasses. Wouldn't have thought they'd be able to make it look so real.
So, whether you want to fight off zombies, travel the world, battle in space, or simply slice up some digital fruit, virtual reality can make it happen. But virtual reality isn't just for gaming anymore. So far, Virus Games has branched out and created a few simulators for well-known Israeli businesses.
We're currently working on other projects such as VR and real estate, and we're currently in talks with one of the biggest first response organizations in Israel to develop a medical simulator for training and simulation purposes.
Imagine virtually touring a home before you buy, or receiving real training before going out on the field. The possibilities are endless.
So last week, Max, we visited the Negev region.
It was neat.
Beersheba.
Tasted some of the local food.
Yeah, it was really cool. But one important thing that we didn't do when we were there is learn more about the people that lived there for many, many years.
Oh, you're talking about?
The Bedouins.
Ah, cool. Well, they are known for their abundant hospitality and very rich coffee. I
That's
think
true.
might be worth paying them a visit. You got someone in mind?
Yep, actually I do. We're going to go to the Bedouin Museum.
Sounds great. Let's go check it
We'll
out.
find out everything we need to know about these interesting tribes.
Cool. Let's go right there.
The Bedouin tribes have been a fixture of the Sinai region for hundreds of years, and Israel's Negev desert is no exception.
In the Negev, there's about 250,000 people, Bedouin people living here, residents of the Negev. Some of them go also to the Israeli army. A lot of them are in different positions within the Negev.
Today we decided to pay a visit to the Museum of Bedouin Culture, which aims to promote the Bedouin heritage by teaching visitors about their rich traditions.
There's a lot of activities for children, arts and crafts, and it's all around the kind of Bedouin culture.
So I know that guests are extremely important to the Bedouin community. So what is the proper way to approach somebody's tent?
Look, Bedouin live in the desert, and in the desert, when you move, you don't have many things to like to buy water or to buy food. So when you see the Bedouin tent, you don't have to think twice if they welcome you or not. You're always just to come and stand outside making a noise. You don't say because Bedouin don't have bell or ring or electric things to use. You see the tent open, and then the host will welcome you by saying Ahlan wa Sahlan.
Ahlan.
Okay. Usually when they serve coffee, they start from the right. Okay? Shukran.
So I noticed he poured a very small amount of coffee.
Coffee, it means that they want your visit. They like that you come. It's an honor that you get because they want to give you 3 times, okay? So you see cups of coffee, and every cup means different things. When a guest come, the Bedouin don't serve him from the ready coffee that he had before. They need to prepare it from the beginning. First they roast the coffee beans, and then they pass the coffee beans to this grinder, which is called the mortar and pestle. You know, it's called maktish, really in Hebrew. Azam in Arabic, like that they invite the others. When they grind and make special music, the others know that they prepare coffee and they can come. Welcome. Hi.
For the Bedouins, freshly roasted coffee is more than just a drink, but a symbol of trust and hospitality. After hearing the rhythmic sounds of the coffee grinder, I had to give it a try.
All right. I'm trying to make the same sound he made.
Turns out it's not as easy as it looks. Now that we've had a taste of traditional Bedouin hospitality, it was time to pay a visit to the desert's most iconic means of transportation, the camel.
This is where the Bedouin experience comes together. Camel riding.
Yes. Now we have here Jamila.
Jamila?
Jamila
Give her
is
a
one
name?
of the best camels that I have.
Oh.
Okay. Jamila have long break, but
Hey.
today prepare her specially for you.
Hear the noises coming from that camel? Okay.
And then when it's standing, go down. You go this way. You wait.
No, it's not my first camel ride.
Yalla ya Jamila, yalla. Yeah.
Max, you're missing out. You should come up right here. So camels are very tamed creatures, right?
Yeah. The females are more friendly than the male. You know, the male is more aggressive sometimes.
A lot of the Bedouin tribes have recently undergone a huge change in their way of life, moving to established towns and villages, eschewing their camels for cars and tents for houses.
In the last years, the Bedouins used to be semi-nomadic, so they used to move from place to place. In the last 20 years, they've been more and more geared towards living in towns.
The traditional Bedouin ways of life are slowly disappearing as they continue to embrace modern conveniences.
The towns have a lot of difficulties and challenges, and because of this transition from being a semi-nomadic, which lived in the desert in a very, very simple way, to being a person which lived in the town with their family, it's very challenging for the Bedouins, but also in terms of education and employment, slowly, for instance, women, once they used to not go to higher education, today there are about, if 5 years ago, there were about 20 Bedouin women learning at the Ben Gurion University in Beersheba. Today there are about 300 women.
This transition led to the opening of the museum with the goal to preserve and record all of the traditions and objects of the Bedouin community. The museum demonstrates both daily and spiritual aspects of Bedouin culture.
This is the first and the biggest museum that we have in the Negev, and part of these things come from Sinai and from Jordan.
Where does the name Bedouin come from?
In Arabic it's called Badia. Badia is the desert name, and then the Bedouin, we can say that people of the desert. We can see the real house, the tent, the Bedouin tent, that they weave it from goat's hair. This is the winter's hair because it's waterproof. Okay, so they build it in a way that the water cannot stop in it, slide down. And then you can see the partition that's separate between the men's side, which means the hospitality side, and the women's side. The women's side, you can see we have the kitchen, we have the bedroom, all what the family need in the women's side.
Thanks so much, Ibrahim.
Thank you.
We've learned so much today on what the Bedouin culture is all about.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Wow, Natalie, so many people are riding bikes all over this country. It's crazy.
Very true. We can even see them here from the car. They're just everywhere. It's not even bikes, it's also electric bikes and scooters and anything that doesn't involve a car, parking. You know, the city is
It can be a little tough. It really can be. It's a very densely populated
You know, you
place.
actually reminded me of a really cool bicycle exhibition going on in Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah?
Probably too far to get there by bike, I'd imagine, but
Yeah,
I
we're
guess we
just
can drive
driving
there in the car.
all over the country this week.
Cool.
We're headed to Jerusalem. We're going to find out some really cool information about the very first bike to the most modern bike.
Cool, let's do it.
Let's go.
The Bloomfield Science Museum is celebrating 200 years since the invention of the bicycle, and today we're going to check out the exhibit that showcases bikes from all throughout history and from around the world. Nowadays there are all different kinds of bicycles, the mountain bikes, the road bikes, the BMX. And it's also a pretty popular means of transportation here in Israel, but nobody really thinks about its origins, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, okay, so the bicycle was invented 200 years ago by the Baron von Drais from Germany, and we actually have all these bicycles here are original artifacts from that time. So we have an original 1820s bike designed by the Baron von Drais. So you can see it had no pedals, but it did have steering and two wheels in the back and front, which is what makes it the first bicycle.
Yeah, I noticed that it's a pedalless bike, so you would have to use your legs.
You use your leg, you lean forward on this cushion, and then you sort of do this funny motion with your legs. It's quite funny.
The invention of the bicycle was an instant hit, serving as a substitute for horses who had perished in the eruption of a volcano way back in 1815. As you ride the bike, the story unfolds on screen. It's also a workout, and it's also pretty informative.
And then for the next 30 years, the bicycle evolved through the tricycle. And because there were no standards, it's a very interesting mechanism. The pedals are driven by hand. For the brakes, there's a backrest. You see the nice carved backrest, and you lean back. These were also called bone shakers because they would really shake your bones, and they were not very comfortable. So the history of the bicycle is also the history of shock absorption.
This one actually kind of resembles modern bikes. It has a pedal.
It begins to resemble. Still, the pedal is on the front wheel.
Yeah.
But the next stage was the high wheeler, the penny farthing,
Look at this
which
one.
a lot of people think is the oldest bicycle, but actually it only came about 50 years after the Dreizehn.
The larger the wheel, the faster you ride. But faster doesn't mean safer, especially in the days before smoothly paved roads.
So we're entering the hall that's dedicated to the machine. The bicycle is a machine, and we have analyzed the bicycle into its parts. So we have a wheel wall, we have a section dealing with bicycle frames, transmissions, brakes. You can read it as a timeline. So we have the Dreizehn wheel that we saw before, the wooden wheel, steel wheels, and it's also the history of shock absorption. There were a lot of solutions looked at for that. For instance, you can see this lovely wheel with all the springs inside the wheel trying to absorb the shocks.
And then came out the modern wheel.
This is from the First World War, and this is the Second World War, and there was a shortage of rubber. So people took car tires and they sewed them up as a bicycle tire. Here we have a nice milestone in technological history where the bicycle and the automobile converged. So both Carl Benz and Daimler were the inventors of the modern automobile. This tricycle is very similar to the one Benz used for the first internal combustion engine. So the bicycle was really there at the moment of the invention of the car, same as it was there at the moment of the invention of the airplane in the Wright brothers display that we have around the corner.
Now people actually rode this?
Of course, I can ride it.
Really?
Not now because it goes pretty fast. It's actually quite fun to ride. These are the steering handles. So you're sitting like this and you're holding on, and then when you turn these, the front wheel will move. So here we have a display showing the Wright brothers' development of the airplane, and the Wright brothers were bicycle builders. So they used the bicycle as a test apparatus to test wind aerodynamics and wind drag, and they also used bicycle parts for the airplanes.
So the Wright brothers are great and all, they contributed a lot, but what about the Israeli innovations?
So we have, because this is really the innovative thread of the exhibition, we have a few Israeli innovations, and we can go here around the wall and have a look. We have a Taga 2, which is a combination of, I'd say, a shopping cart, a stroller, and a bicycle. And it's quite nice, a very successful Kickstarter campaign, and really what's really nice, you can look at the steering. Actually, the steering we're used to in the bicycle is split into two parts here.
I could definitely see this being a success in Tel Aviv.
Yeah,
everyone rides their bikes with their children.
It's quite successful in Tel Aviv, and it's even more successful in places around the world where there are good bike lanes. So we have another great Israeli invention here. It's a cardboard bicycle, and this is like a very initial prototype. It looks very cumbersome, but the later models are very nice and sleek.
The idea of creating a bike out of cardboard, how did the idea come about?
This inventor, Isaac Gafni, who had this idea to make a bicycle from a light and strong material, and cardboard is a light and strong material.
Okay. So it's very cheap to make.
Very cheap.
Is it cheap to buy?
Very cheap to buy and make. Some other problems, which are durability, were solved in many different ways.
The bicycle also played a big role in feminism, offering new freedom to women and paving the way for women's rights.
Were they allowed to ride
They were
the
allowed
bicycles?
to ride, but it was not very common, and it was actually, there was a lot of books written by very prominent physicians saying that women should not ride bicycles, they will not be able to have babies, although these doctors who wrote these books never rode a bicycle, of course.
Many brave women didn't want to give up the independence the bicycle had afforded them, so they rode away.
Fashion began to change because it's not very comfortable to ride a bicycle with a long skirt. So we have the bloomers, which are riding trousers for women.
And you have the skin-tight outfit that
as
people
a
wear
comparison,
today.
where we are today, you know, very high-tech textiles.
The bicycle had a huge impact, I see, on many things.
It's not just a means of transportation, but
There's something about a bicycle that really sort of sets you free.
After exploring the origin and history of bicycles throughout history inside the exhibition, visitors can go outside and actually ride some of them.
Some head protection for you, safety first. Look at that.
Ready to ride.
This is a medium-sized
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
high-wheeler. You're going back 100 years, 120 years in time. There you go.
yay, Daddy's teaching me how to ride a bike. How do I stop?
There you go.
Max, we are in Jerusalem right now, and since we're right next to the German colony, why don't we go check it out?
What's going on at the German colony?
Well, it's a really charming, beautiful neighborhood. The German Templar community settled here in the 1800s, before Israel was even established as a state, and really cool things went on here. We can go and find out all about it.
Cool, let's check that out, see what it's all about.
Today we're here in Jerusalem, in the heart of the German colony, which dates back to the mid-1800s.
The German Templar Society settled in Jerusalem with the goal to advance the rebuilding of the temple and to promote the second coming of Christ. They desired to maintain a way of life that observed religion and the principles of Christianity.
You've probably heard about the Templar buildings in Israel, or perhaps you even see them on the show. But one thing you didn't know was that you can now spend the night at the Templars Inn Bed and Breakfast. Now this is a bed and breakfast really worth checking out. You also have the cozy boutique suites, and you also could have that historic experience. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. That's the type of experience we are trying to provide.
How did you bring this historical gem into modern days?
Well, this was my family's house for more than 60 years. My grandmother lived here since 1951, and we decided to renovate it a few years ago. We worked very hard to maintain all the original features of the house, the tiles and the ceilings and the doors and the windows and the handles and everything we could.
So your grandmother moved into this house in the 1950s, but I know that the structure dates back many years before that.
So the house was built around in the 1890s by the Templar shoemaker by the name of Christian Messerle. He married twice, had 12 children who all grew up here.
Most of the early settlers were craftsmen, merchants, and agricultural workers from the villages in southern Germany. They contributed significantly to the construction of Jerusalem as well as the other Templar colonies.
They were exiled in the Second World War and never to return. Exiled by the British because the Templars were regarded as enemies.
In 1951, the Israeli government decided to populate the Templar properties as the neighborhood had become a charming and desirable place to live. And that's when Alon's grandparents moved in.
We feel that in a way the house tells the history of, or the recent history of Jerusalem. This was the original German colony of Jerusalem, located a bit to the south of what was the city at the time, and on the way to Bethlehem and to Hebron. And today this is the center of Jerusalem. We're across the street from the original first train station, which was built in the late 19th century.
The Templar Inn is pretty new. It's just a few months old. What kind of visitors do you see coming to stay here?
The visitors who come here are those that are looking for an authentic experience, maybe Jerusalem of old, to feel like they're in a house, a home, rather than a big hotel.
All right, Alon, let's head inside and check out the suites.
This is one of our suites. All 4 suites have a bedroom and a living room with a sofa beds.
What features in this room dates back to the Templars?
Well, obviously the floors, the tiles, the ceilings, the windows and the handles, the doors, all are original.
Wow, you definitely don't see ceilings like this anymore.
Well, this originally used to be a window, was turned into a bookshelf maybe 60 or 70 years ago.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Cruising Israel. We're so happy to have you here with us.
Don't forget to catch us next time as we cruise the country and show you the best Israel has to offer.
Bye.